In June 2020, a German company sat on the DAX 30, alongside Volkswagen, Siemens, and Adidas. It was worth more than Deutsche Bank. Its auditors went looking for 1.9 billion euros that was supposed to be sitting in 2 bank accounts in the Philippines. That money didn't exist. It never had. Within days, the CEO was arrested. The chief operating officer vanished completely and is still missing today. This is the story of Wirecard, the biggest corporate fraud in German history, and the story of how almost everyone who was supposed to catch it didn't. Wirecard was founded in 1999, right at the height of the dot-com boom, processing online payments for a market nobody else wanted to touch: gambling sites and adult content. In 2002, a young Austrian executive named Markus Braun took over as CEO. He didn't dress like a typical German banker. He wore black turtlenecks. He modeled himself after Steve Jobs. That same year, a new employee joined the company, Jan Marsalek. Hired originally for his technical knowledge, he would rise to become chief operating officer and the second most powerful man at Wirecard. Under Braun and Marsalek, Wirecard expanded aggressively into Asia, claiming massive partnerships with merchants across the region. The story was irresistible to investors: a scrappy German fintech company beating Silicon Valley and the big banks at their own game. By 2018, Wirecard had done the unthinkable. It replaced Commerzbank, one of Germany's oldest financial institutions, on the prestigious DAX 30 stock index. At its peak, the company was valued at over 24 billion euros, worth more than Deutsche Bank itself. In January 2019, the Financial Times began publishing a series of investigations into Wirecard's Asian division, the same division run by Jan Marsalek. The allegations were specific: fabricated revenue, forged customer contracts, accounting irregularities originating from offices in Dubai and Dublin. Wirecard's response was aggressive denial. Executives called the reporting fake news. Some analysts agreed with them. At Commerzbank, analysts who were bullish on the stock publicly dismissed the Financial Times articles. And it wasn't just analysts. Sell-side researchers stayed overwhelmingly positive on Wirecard. Even as late as September 2019, Goldman Sachs maintained a top-tier buy rating on the stock. Behind the scenes, a different story was unfolding. A senior legal counsel based in Singapore had already raised the alarm internally and was pushed out after doing so. Jan Marsalek personally assured this whistleblower the issue would be handled. It wasn't. Germany's financial regulator, BaFin, had a choice to make: investigate the company or investigate the journalists exposing it. They chose the latter, filing a criminal complaint against Financial Times reporters for market manipulation. By February 2019, German regulators finally tasked an independent body, FREP, with formally investigating Wirecard's accounts. It would take over a year to complete. In October 2019, the Financial Times published internal documents that appeared to directly show fraudulent revenue and forged customer relationships tracing back to the Dubai and Dublin offices. Wirecard's board, finally cornered, commissioned KPMG to conduct an independent audit. But even the company's third-quarter report that year still contained the same deceptions. Then came June 2020. Auditors at Ernst & Young, who had signed off on Wirecard's books for years, announced they could not locate 1.9 billion euros, supposedly held in trustee accounts at 2 banks in the Philippines. It was a quarter of the company's entire balance sheet. The Philippine Central Bank stated plainly, the money never entered their financial system. Both named banks denied ever having a relationship with Wirecard. On June 19, 2020, Markus Braun resigned as CEO. On June 22nd, he turned himself in to Munich prosecutors and was arrested on suspicion of market manipulation. Jan Marsalek was fired the same day. Wirecard's stock, which had traded near 100 euros just days earlier, collapsed to nearly nothing within a week. The company filed for insolvency shortly after. While Markus Braun faced German justice, Jan Marsalek simply disappeared. Reports soon emerged that he had fled to Belarus, then onward toward Moscow. allegedly with help from intelligence contacts he had cultivated for years. Interpol issued a red notice for his arrest in August 2020. He remains a fugitive to this day. Investigators later uncovered something stranger than the fraud itself. Marsalek had reportedly operated a private office in Vienna located next to the Russian embassy and had made dozens of trips to Russia over the preceding decade. Later reporting by the Financial Times alleged that Marsalek had gone on to run a Russian espionage network across Europe. Marcus Brown's trial, alongside several former Wirecard executives, has dragged on for years, slowed by the sheer complexity of unraveling a fraud that spanned multiple countries and a defendant who, even now, denies any wrongdoing. So how did Wirecard fool everyone for so long? Lesson 1. A great story is not the same as a real business. Wirecard's narrative, scrappy German fintech beating Silicon Valley, was so compelling that investors stopped asking basic questions. Lesson 2. Regulators can fail upward into the wrong fight. Rather than investigating the company, BaFin investigated the journalists exposing it. The watchdog protected the wrong side. Lesson 3. Whistleblowers are often right and often ignored. The warning came from inside the company over a year before the collapse, and it was buried. Lesson 4. Auditors are not infallible. Ernst & Young signed off on Wirecard's books for over a decade before finally asking where 1.9 billion euros actually was. Wirecard wasn't just a fraud. It was a failure of nearly every system designed to prevent one. The press was the only institution that got it right, and even they were nearly prosecuted for it. Marcus Brown remains in custody as his trial continues. Jan Marsalek has never been found. Wirecard, once worth more than Deutsche Bank, no longer exists. If this story taught you something, subscribe. Next week, we're covering the rise of the company that now controls the chips powering almost every AI system on Earth, and almost nobody knows their name. The pattern always tells you something. You just have to be willing to look.